Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello and welcome to Longbangers. I'm Matty.
Good morning, I'm Colin.
Good morning, I'm your Director of Communications.
Morning, John, Director of
For anyone that
Communications.
doesn't get the joke, it was me that was on the Longbangers Twitter yesterday tweeting live from the game. Hope you enjoyed yourselves as much as I did.
We should maybe let it happen more often.
Aye. And this episode is brought to you by our partners, Leith Spirits. Right, so this morning we'll get straight into it. An interesting game yesterday. That interesting, maybe a wee bit of a euphemism with it. TV blackout meant that unless you were at the game, you didn't see it. So John was at the game. Colin and I caught up on the highlights on Sportscene last night. And we followed Twitter updates, of which there were very few for Hibs, which is maybe an indication of how the game went. John, I'll come to you first, right? Just give me your thoughts on the game, if you could sort of summarise it in a fairly succinct way, please.
Or as long as you want, pad it out, because we've got a whole show here. And...
That's probably a better idea, to be fair. Thanks, Colin.
I suppose. Well, do you want to start with the starting lineup? Because there was a couple changes in there.
No,
you want my summary? You want me?
If we can start with the question I asked, please, and then.
You were only directed yesterday, John. Come on now.
Okay.
I was going to ask you to line up next, but if you want to start with either of my job, we'll be mucking about.
See, to be perfectly honest, there wasn't a hell of a lot happened during the game. It was 90 minutes of there was no particularly good football. I think, and someone will be able to correct me, but it seemed like our first shot on target was around about the 60th minute mark. Assuming you don't include the missed penalty. There was.
Why would you not include that?
Just because I just remembered as I was talking about it.
No, it was just interesting because sometimes I've seen folks say before, shots on target, and the count was hit the post in the bar, and you go, well, that's not on target.
Yeah. I think so.
I wonder if penalties didn't count or something as well. I was wonder if there's some kind of anomaly.
I think it probably felt like it was the first Doidge's effort in the 60th minute was the first one on target, because everything up to that point, including the missed penalty, was a bit of a non-event. Like there just wasn't much going on. And if you look at the stats for the game, I think Hibs had, surprisingly for me anyway, 4 shots on target. I think was it Forfar's 1?
Yeah.
And to be fair, I thought that they'd had more shots on target, because it seemed like they'd, especially right at the start of the game, they'd kind of come out and I think they'd tried to get the cliche of getting the early goal and put us under a bit of pressure. But I think Marshall's maybe tipped one on at the post. There's been a wee bit of pressure up the opposite end of the pitch, but there was a couple of silly bookings, I think, for Hibs. There was a hard challenge for a Forfar player on Tavares, and it was just 90 minutes of trying to get through to the next round, and we did. So you can come away from it with that sort of like a little glimmer on an otherwise dreary day.
What was the mood like in the crowd during and after the game, John?
What about before it? Like, did it? What was
Again,
it
if we could just stick to the questions I asked, like that was.
I'm asking this one.
Again, I've only taken before, during, and after. John,
no, because
go for it all.
I'm wondering if it changed. I wonder if everybody was in a good mood and then the game started, or if everybody was already in a bad mood. Because I
think it's a good question for Colin. I don't know what everyone else's experiences were like. Because when I got booked onto the bus, we were meant to be going up on something called Flixbus, which sounds entirely made up, but I'm assured is legitimate. But at the last second, Lisa from, I want to say it's the Central branch, had got in touch to say that actually they got a bigger coach, so there was some spare seats. So me and Dave got in there, and I just thought, well, we'll get the bus, we'll go up to the game, we'll get back on the bus when it's finished, we'll come home. But we got booked into Forfar West End Social Club, which was lovely. Pints of Guinness, £3.70. Got a wee Forfar Bridie in there. Watched some of the golf. Watched the Spartans Hearts game. So it was as lively as you can imagine an afternoon with a few pints before the game in a social club would be. There was one wee rendition of Hibs for the Cup. So it was that sort of atmosphere, and it was about the same. I think when we were like there wasn't much singing. There wasn't. I wouldn't say there was a hell of a lot of atmosphere at the game, and I think there was maybe an element of nervousness because, like I say, Forfar had a few shots early doors, and Hibs weren't particularly open. They weren't particularly fluid, and I think that maybe fed into it. And I think at half time, in another period, there was a few boos for the Hibs end. And there wasn't really a hell of a lot in terms of like encouragement or backing for the support that I remember. Certainly, like I was up in the back row in the terracing, and I had Dave beside me who was just critical of all the bad things that Hibs were doing. Like his concerns and his criticisms were legitimate.
And he is bad for just shouting abuse at the players anyway, isn't he, Dave? Like, I mean, he carries talks to them when they're going past in the Albion bar and that, but at the game, it's an absolute nightmare. So, he needs to watch himself, I suppose. That's not the way to behave, Dave. So, on to the starting lineup, John, as you flagged, what were, I suppose I'll come to you, Colin, for this one. What were your thoughts on the lineup when you saw it?
I didn't think. I was glad to see Molotnikov start. I thought that was good because I thought he'd done well in the Motherwell game, which feels like fucking ages away. I know it was only 2.5 weeks or something ago, but so it was good to see him get his chance. But other than that, I wasn't really too surprised because we've only got at the moment one right back. We'll have 3 or 4, give it 3 or 4 weeks, but we've got one now, so he had to start there. I suppose Stevenson in for a beat and Benty being out. I was a bit like, why are we not going with our strongest team? We've just had 2.5, 3 weeks off. Why are we sort of thinking
managing that? Yeah.
And who are we resting? Why are we resting them? But I still thought when I seen it, I thought, well, it should still be enough. You know what I mean? They're third bottom in the bottom league, I think.
Aye.
So that they're down there is worse than like Spartans and Boreham Rose in that. Who actually done both them well yesterday as well, I suppose. So you could maybe say League 2 is better than we put it down because Spartans gave Hearts a good game of Bonner to Falkirk, didn't they? But it isn't a, it's a part-time league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We should be going up there with a half-mixed first reserve team and still beating them comfortably. I mean, we did win, but it's no. I was okay with it, but I was surprised that there was a couple of them. And when we seemed to be struggling, and I haven't seen the game, I've seen the highlights, but when we seemed to be struggling, but I don't know how that's weighted with folk moaning. That if it was as bad as I was reading, basically, because that's when I started going, why are we not fucking playing Benty in that more than it was when I seen the team come out?
Yeah, and Jago and Newell and the midfield, John. How did you view that pairing?
Based on what I thought about the starting lineup or how they played throughout the game?
Both.
I was curious about seeing Jago starting because I thought I think some of the changes that we maybe saw were enforced partly because there's 9 players out through a combination of international duty and injuries. And also I think there was one eye on Wednesday's game, so keeping players like Vente, Obita, etc. fresh. So I don't think, unless there's some sort of injury going on with Obita, I don't think we'll see Stevenson start.
Mm-hmm.
So to come back to your original question about Jago and Newell in the midfield, I was a wee bit surprised to see Jago in there because I thought this was a game for a player like Molotnikov to partner Newell. So if one of them was going to sit, one of them was going to support the striker, for example. But then you're missing that second striker, and I think that's the role that Molotnikov was playing to a certain extent. First half, I thought Newell and Jago kind of got in each other's way a wee bit. It's almost like, and I don't know whether that was partly because of Molotnikov there, so you've got like some changes there and they're trying to learn how to work with each other. And I know that they train with each other like throughout the week and what have you, and they've just spent a few weeks in Dubai, but I think there's that element of like familiarity on the pitch where it's kind of like you're looking for that instinctive, right, he's going to be here, I'm going to be there kind of thing. Second half, it seemed to improve when Levitt came on for Newell. I think Newell maybe got hooked for picking up a silly booking, and I think there was maybe a wee bit concern there that we'd maybe end up potentially getting cup tied, potentially getting Another booking which maybe leave him out for a future game. But and
Maybe miss
also
the
like if
Rangers
he
game.
was,
I don't know how that would work.
no, I was thinking like bookings are like if he was to get sent off. So if he was to get sent off yesterday, then that would put us on the back foot and against the Forfar, who were already like kind of 0-0 and definitely in the game at that point. So I think there's an
Quite
element.
early, eh? 57 minutes. I'm looking at they made this up.
So there was definitely an improvement after Newell went off and was replaced by Levitt and Jago stayed on. And I don't know, like Jago's got his critics. I don't think he did poorly yesterday. Like I know that he's seen as being limited as a footballer, but I don't remember anything that he did wrong as such.
I think I don't know, just to draw attention to Jago, but I think they picked up on sports scene and on the radio as well. The one that Forfar had off the line, when Deutsch popped up on line to head one away, but they were quite critical of Jago's marking of the boy at that set piece. So you could can't remember where the player was, but I had no idea where the ball was. And so when the ball came in, the guy's got a free header despite being marked.
I assume that must have been first half and was away up the other end of the pitch, so I didn't see that.
Aye.
He was like jockeying him like a basketball player, is how they described it, and then the boy got over the head and Deutsch knocked it off the line.
Right.
That must have been the one on target.
Aye, it must have been. Because Marshall saved one as well, so they must have had 2 attempts on target.
Saved one onto the post.
Do the blocked shots count as shots on target? Because effectively
the save does.
The save does, but the one that Deutsch headed off the line wouldn't then. If it's blocked by a defender, I don't think they count.
Oh, right, okay.
So
is that the bookies just trying to wangle?
I think that's how it works. Like if you they had a shot on target when the Hanlon blocked as well, so he dived into to make the block in the second half. I think it was.
They were rattling off all the chances. They had that one in the second half as well that Marshall saved. Well, it looked like he saved, but they didn't get the corner, so it didn't count as a save because they never got the corner.
It was a really poor start, John. Like, I think in the first few minutes, Forfar hit both posts. And Hibs really struggled to get going. What was your take on what was behind that? Was it just lethargy, a bit of rustiness, or were Forfar more up for it than us? What do you think?
I think there's an element of it being a traditional cup tie. Like I think, see down south, they talk about the magic of the FA Cup, and they're looking for a giant killing. And that, yesterday, would have been a giant killing as much as it would have been when Spartans equalised against Hearts and were sniffing for a winner. I think one of the things that we have as fans and perhaps the media up here, we're looking for ways to shoot down the bigger teams. Mm-hmm. So to go back to what I was saying, it's a cup tie. So Forfar having absolutely nothing to lose. It's no trying to work out their points across the course of a season. They've got 90 minutes to go and put Hibs out and move into the next round of the cup. I think they started quicker than us, and I think that's partly why it was. I think it's as much as Hibs weren't great throughout the game, I think they were trying to manage their way through the game. So as I said before about the 9 players being injured and what have you, Hibs came away with the win. You can't take that away from them. It just, I think I tweeted about it at the time about the game being a marathon, not a sprint. So Forfar started really quickly and Hibs just kind of plodded their way throughout the 90 minutes without ever really getting up ahead of steam.
And then we do eventually kind of get a foothold in the game. I think so. Listening on the radio, the Forfar started right there. It did sound like Hibs were coming more into it without really kind of doing too much. I think the substitution was probably the catalyst for us to start playing a bit better. Levitt came on, and we get the goal through Deutsch. Talk us through the goal, John.
I'm hoping you can talk me through it because it was at the opposite end of the pitch again. So I just remember a ball into the box and a wee sort of backwards flick, and like I say, the crowd went mild, and it was, as Jeff asked, it was just 2 arms in the air. There was no limbs. There was no particular outburst of emotion. The old days,
back and shake each other's hands in that.
Do you know what? I almost turned to Dave, but he was still spitting bullets at things that players were getting wrong.
Here, the goal was almost identical to a chance earlier. Their keeper made a decent save. Venti had one. Yeah. It was a sort of back flicked header to the far post, although Dodges was down the middle because the keeper made an arse of that one. If he had just stayed where he was, he wouldn't have went in. But it was 2 identical sort of crosses, I think, from what I saw.
both for Tavares, both decent balls in. It was a really funny one. Hibs put out a picture which we shared yesterday. The goal, and Doy just headed it in for facing his own goal, which is quite impressive. And it's not like it's bounced off him and gone in. He's deliberately gone for
just
that.
Just try to get a flick on it. Benny done the exact same thing, mate. So it's not, it's obviously they must have been practicing in Dubai.
He back facing the wrong way, still trying to score as if we're no negative enough. Let's do that.
Back to goal, boys. Back to goal. Missed it, the penalty.
Let's go to the penalty. So first of all, did you think it was a penalty? Like, I don't know if you've seen it again, John, but
just seen it once at the time. I thought it was soft. I couldn't even honestly say whether I thought it hit someone's hand. Well, it must have been a hand. Like, it wasn't a foul in the box. Nobody got knocked over, but I don't know if the hand was above his head.
I think it was for the foul.
I thought it was.
Was it a high feet or something?
Stevenson claimed it. Stevenson thought it was a penalty. Like, we only got the one angle on the BBC as well, so
yeah.
You would have had the angle from behind it, I think, whereas we had it for behind the player.
I promise I was at the game, but I've just genuinely not seen a replay. I cannot remember the exact sequence of events.
It was on the edge of the box, sort of on the corner, the corner of the 18-yard box, and it was almost just inside the box. Ball was bouncing quite high. Stevenson went for it, and it looked like the guy sort of maybe had a high foot up, and it maybe caught him on the chest, and Stevenson just fell down, and was claiming it right away. And they often say, like, the player's reaction tells you.
My feeling at the time was that it was a soft penalty, so Forfar-k kind of got their just rewards with Newell scuffing it into the keeper's palms.
I've seen them not give it, like, definitely, but it probably is. I didn't think he scuffed it. I just thought it was a good height and no in the corner. It wasn't. He hit it hard enough, but it was an easy save for the goalie, really, with the height in that.
So I think with Newell stepping up to take it, and it's no, I'm not trying to do the service to Newell, but I think if you were to look throughout the Hibs side yesterday, who would you have take the penalty? Because I think everyone amongst them has either missed a penalty previously, or you just wouldn't associate them with having like a good strike of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes back to what we were saying a few weeks back about like free kicks and what have you. Like, we don't really have anyone that you would say they are the out and out penalty taker. Like, I would trust them to take the penalty.
No, absolutely. You'd have to go. I'd agree with that, because when I obviously got the message through saying Newell, I think it was you that put it in the group chat we're in and said Newell, I went, his shooting's not his strength, but I suppose at least he's saying I'll take it. But other than that, you're going, who does take it then? Because then you're into, well, Ewan, Tavares, or fucking David Marshall. He can smash it. He's got good distributing in that top net. Aye, but Doidge isn't associated with.
No, but goals, you would just need somebody to give him a wee nudge, like to trip him up a wee bit as he was. Would be laughing. He'd scored no ball. I thought the camera angle that they showed didn't do us any favours with showing what's actually happened. I think the contact's coming in front of Stevenson, like on the blind side of the camera, so it looked soft, but the referee was quick to give it. He had a good position on it, and like you say, Stevenson claimed it. So, although it looked soft, I think it probably, if you could have seen it from the other side, you probably would have seen more of why the penalty was given.
That's what the John was, I think. Like, to be fair, like, so.
Aye.
I was on behind the goals. I was looking directly at the penalty incident, and I just completely forgot.
The thing is, it was like almost like a nothing incident. It wasn't like Stevenson was like cutting in for the edge. You know, some moments in a game you think, oh, we might get a penalty here. That wasn't one of them. It was just like a sort of two players going for the ball, and then we got it. And the penalty wasn't very good. Do you think the keeper? Again, this is like a stupid thing when you've had a bad penalty. He was fast off his line for it. I was trying. You couldn't tell on sports scene, right? See, when you consider what Marshall got pulled up for against Aberdeen, right? When they went and they did the VAR check and everything, they got to retake the penalty that he'd saved. I don't know. Like, I tried to catch it, and I never went to the extent like pausing and freeze frame and everything. But I thought the keeper ran forward really quickly as Newell was about to take the penalty. It was a shit penalty. We just saved it even if he'd stayed on the line. Like, if that wasn't the case and his foot's on the line, I could have saved it anyway because the penalty wasn't great. But
I'm assuming VAR wasn't in place yesterday, so I wonder if the keepers just went with just tried to not bend the rules, but you know what I mean. Like, he's went, well, fucking VAR's not going to check anything. I just need to beat the referee's eyes.
He he'll maybe consider VAR. He'll never have played with VAR before. Yeah, that's just how he'll play. You know what I mean? It's.
Aye, but he must still watch football. Like he'll be aware of the existence
I'm
of
not
it.
sure. I'm not sure.
I'd watch it. I'd watch it back anyway. I just not that it matters. Like I said, I'm not trying to make excuses or act a victim or anything like that. I just like these things always make me curious. Is sometimes they're given, sometimes they're no. So we missed the penalty. We scored in the second half. We see the game out. Let's talk a wee bit about the reaction. Kind of get your thoughts on it. So I followed it, listened to Sports Sound, right? And the Sports Sound were overwhelmingly negative about Hibs, to the point that when we scored, they fucking groaned.
You're not exaggerating that, because you said that at the time, and I thought
one of them
really?
went. Well, right. So there's a groan. There's like an element of deflation in the tone and pitch. I was that impressed in. And Rory, I can't remember if Rory Lloyd was talking at the game as well, or I can't remember. Preston mentions he's like, oh, it's a goal. It's quite flat. He's not as excited as he would have been when there was a chance for the Forfar boy running through when they've hit the post and had one off the line, and he's getting to say how incapable of defending high balls Hibs are. There was a difference there, but then they watch the replay and it's like, oh, but there's an element where they're talking about the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper made a no hunt at it, right? And there is an element, I think that oh no, but it comes with the keeper's messed that up, rather than oh no, Hibs have scored. But if you just listen to it, you're going, fuck, these boys are devastated that we've got in front of here. That's totally fucked their story. So you had like a kind of combination of things, like really, really negative for the radio, because there was nothing happening in the game. There's no updates for Hibs on the Twitter. There's like I think somebody counted 9 overall for the match, and you're getting updates on Hibs.net messages for folk that are at the game. So you try to kind of piece together as much as you can what's going on, and it painted a really, really bad picture. Do you think that, like, having seen the highlights and John having seen the game, was that negative reaction to that extent justified, in your opinion?
No.
Do you know what? Can I rephrase the question? Justify is probably not the word I'm looking for, but is it understandable?
So I think your question's based on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your question's based on like the lack of information coming out, and a little bit about it was just, it was the first round of the Scottish Cup, Hibs were away in a League Two side, all that sort of stuff. So in the absence of any updates, in the absence of anything like particularly exciting for Hibs, people have went for the opposite end and went, well, this must be absolute fucking shite. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. And so then, was it reflected in the ground? And that's where you could tell, right? So if folk did folk get the wrong end of the stick by jumping to that conclusion, or was it the same in the ground where folk getting exasperated? Because we had the boos on Sports Scene when I think it was when the boy went through and sort of just missed. He knocked it wide, and then the crowd were freaking booing the Hibs team at that point. So and that's your benchmark from it, is whether the folk in the ground watching the game felt the same as the folk online following it.
What I'd say is that there was the 2 boos that I described. So I think there was the Hibs left the field at half time to boos, and there was one other, and I forget exactly what it was. It might have been after Newell missed his penalty. I forget which. And other people that were again will be able to tell me and tell us. There was one other incident when I was off to go for a pee at half time, when I overheard someone say, if Montgomery doesn't win this, then he's got to go. And I remember chuckling about it at the time, because that was that one-off comment amongst 2,500 Hibs fans that were there. But beyond those 3 incidents, it was just 2,500 people watching 90 minutes of a cup tie. Like, it wasn't overwhelmingly negative at the ground. It was certainly, there was some frustration there that I've described with the boos and what have you. But I think the reaction that we've perhaps seen online wasn't reflected at the ground.
Okay,
frustrated, but not overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I was kind of curious about it, because I know personally, like when I was watching, I was getting annoyed at Hibs' kind of lack of ability to create chances, and annoyed that Forfar were on top, going by the radio. And then I think when you start reading other tweets and text messages for folk, and like I said, I was kind of following the game on Hibs.net as well, then it almost just sort of snowballs, doesn't it? Like you kind of start off with a wee bit of, oh, this isn't going very well, and then that not going very well turns to, oh, this is shite, and then it's, oh, they need to get the finger out, and then before you know it, you're absolutely in a bad mood, even though we ended up winning the game.
Well, I didn't bother following it anywhere on the chats because I couldn't find it. I spent like fucking 60 minutes trying to find it, thinking surely it's on somewhere. You know, like I'm reading, one of the games even on, couldn't find that either. I was like, fucking hell, couldn't find anything. But we're into like slagging off like how shite last year's Player of the Year is, and that like that's the levels we were dropping into. Like we weren't even slagging off the obvious usual targets. Like we were well past Hanlon, Stevenson, and Jago, and that we were into fucking Player of the Year.
Aye.
And I was like, fucking hell, man! Like, how much credit did you get in the bank? Like how much do you carry? Like he's been one of the best players this season. He was Player of the Year last year. He's had one bad game, and we're like, get rid of the gun. I'm going, fucking hell, what the fuck has happened here? We're still 0-0 though, eh?
But I wonder, this is what, I don't know whether now is the time to explore this one, but is that sort of symptomatic how we've been playing? Like, because we've not been good for a number of weeks now, right? Number of matches, obviously been away. I have a break for a few weeks, which doesn't help. But we had 30 minutes have been brilliant against Motherwell, and then the rest of the match are really toiling in it. The games before that, we lost the Derby. We had games where we were struggling to get a shot on target, and again, it seemed like yesterday was more of the same. Like we've no come back and had this break and come back and been sparkling and kind of really shown the benefit of it. And I'm not saying that the performance of David De Gea no making any link between the two things at all before anybody gets carried away. But there's an opportunity for the manager to work with the players, and you come back, there's nothing different. We've not got anything. So we've made one signing. They're obviously not available for it. We've recalled Megwa. He's cup tied, so he's not available for it. So the team comes back as it was. Another youngster in. Performance hasn't moved really. Is that the action? And folk talking about Montgomery having to kind of to go if we didn't win the game, John. Do you think that comes through like a build up of time rather than just this one game in isolation?
I've said it before on here. Like I think a lot of the frustration comes from just a lot of middling performances or league finishes over a number of years, and the number of managers that we've gone through, and the number of sort of like false dawns and excitements of, oh well, this time it's going to be different, and then 6 to 18 months later they end up out the door. I think that's largely, and in my humble opinion, I think that's where it comes from, because you guys talked about it. I wasn't able to make the podcast, but the topic was around like where we were 5 years ago and where we are now. Like we've not really progressed, and that's not just down to Nick Montgomery and the side. So that's where my thoughts on what feelings are towards it. It's not necessarily just about Nick Montgomery. It's about the frustration of having sacked Johnson, caretaker managers, etc., and just like we had that little bit of excitement of European football throughout the summer and at the start of the season. That's what Hibs fans want regularly, and we're not regularly doing that. What we regularly do instead is go, this is fucking shite, get him out and let's start all over again.
What do you think, Colin?
I agree. We're in a loop, and I also think it is a wee bit of build up of time over December, which wasn't great. Weren't creating many chances. Lost the Derby. Had 2 weeks to fester on it, 3 weeks to fester on that, and then come out with a shite performance after going on a nice holiday. So I think, and it was just the Monday the other day. Like so, I think folk are still on a downer. Thinking, fuck me, I'm going to pay this credit card bill. And we lost the fucking Derby, and now they're struggling against Forfar, and we were shite 3 weeks before the Derby as well. So I think it's just it's a build up. Shite time of the year. I don't know how different it would have been if it came out and blew them away yesterday. I don't think it would have been. I think it would have just been so we fucking should. You know, I don't think everybody would be back.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it depends on how you do it. Do you know? Like, I think that there's definitely been games you've been in, but in games that we expect to win, where the performance has been good and you feel good about it. Although, I was trying to think of the last time where we played a lower league team where we absolutely blew them away. And then even I was watching the games yesterday and the results coming in, Hearts struggled against Spartans. Right, I mean they took an injury time winner.
Smash Drugs County.
St Johnstone went out. Who were they playing? Airdrie. And even Rangers
went out at Bonnyrigg.
Even Rangers against Dunbar. I think that finished 3-1. But Rangers get a penalty, obviously. Like it wasn't like, I mean, obviously Rangers were on top, but it wasn't like a 6 or a 7 that you would think.
They got a couple of later goals, didn't they? I think it was maybe 4-1.
Oh, did it finish 4-1? I switched off.
So.
Like I wasn't.
I didn't even watch it. I got the alerts through on my phone. I think so.
So
I was curious. I forget what it was that Colin or Matt said that got me curious about who was our first game in the 2016 Cup victory. Like who did we first play in that competition? It was Wraith. And actually, now that I remember, I think they tweeted something at the time about like how teams that had beaten them had gone on to win the competition, like at least once, but possibly twice. And I'm looking at it, and McGregor scored in the 61st minute, and Malonga scored in the 64th. Like, how much does anyone remember about that game? Was that a sterling victory? Was that an exceptional Hibs performance at the time? Did anyone think they would go on and win the cup? So, and my reason
and it was the Wraith
mentioning
Rovers that are Wraith Rovers now, John. Like they're obviously pushing to come up. They weren't that great a side back then.
Yeah, and the reason that I mention that is like I wonder how much of these games that you go to, and Dave and I talked about it yesterday, like if you go and watch any game of football, how much throughout the 90 minutes is actually any good? And we reckon that maybe about 10% of the game was any good, where you actually remember it, whether it's like goals or whatever. So when you put it, like when you look at it through that sort of lens, you go, well, actually, how bad was yesterday? Probably not that bad. And comparatively with other first round games that we're talking about and some of the results that have taken place, like, so I'm just trying to put like a bit of a positive spin on it, because like you were saying, like about the negativity of the fans and the ground.
If you think not that bad to not as bad as it could have been.
Tell you what, sports thought it was bad. Like I was saying, before we came on there, 69 minutes we scored the goal in, and on the sports scene highlights we've seen the goal, seen the celebrations, and then they basically got the full time whistle. Or otherwise they've just chopped 21 plus injury time out. Like, so fuck all happened. This is what BBC saying after that goal. Can you wrap it up and go home early?
Aye.
But do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see what I'm getting at?
I do, yeah. Like, so it's relative. Derek McInnes actually in his interview after Kilmarnock, I think they beat Dundee 2-1, maybe 3-1. I can't remember 2-0. Oh, Dundee had the goal chopped off. But they scored 2 goals in the first couple of minutes. And McInnes was saying the team being dead rusty. He says actually that they looked like, and this is probably like a few teams will be finding that we look quite leggy after coming back with having played. It's like there's a bit of rustiness after the break, almost, is what he was pointing to. And then if you look at how the teams have performed, like other teams, there's maybe an element of truth in that. So
and that's also Dundee up to 115 years, by the way. Not that I've really got anything against Dundee, but I guess it's obviously a notable number.
Aye.
For Hibs fans who got a fucking rammed down the throat for about
for 100 years, aye. Much,
and that's when anybody really noticed, but nobody seems to have noticed the Dundee one. Like, it's every time the BBC article used to come out, it was 101 or 105 or whatever it was at that point. Whereas Dundee they're just getting a total freebie on it. Like,
aye, under the radar, isn't it? Okay, we'll come at the talking points at the moment, or in a moment. One of the conversations we were getting on to on Hibs.net yesterday was about this group of players, right? So Montgomery was after the game saying that he's still trying to bring players in. He mentioned that we'd almost signed a defender through the week, and that sort of fell through last minute, which is interesting. We signed Maulida. I think that was his. I've not butchered the name.
I've completely forgotten his first name. Someone remind me quickly.
Nope. It begins with an M as well. And then we have whose name I have forgotten, the guy that was formerly with QPR that's training with us now.
Josh
Amos, yes, thank you. Who's a midfielder? I think midfield's obviously a concern, right? My observation of how Hibs are playing now, and I've mentioned it before, is we've got a squad that's too they're too prepared to accept a performance like yesterday without one or two players in there rolling up their sleeves and saying, "This isn't fucking happening."
Are you going to say that we've not got any leaders in the squad? If you do, I might just chuck my headphones off and walk it.
I'm not using those words because that's not necessarily the leadership part, but actually that's just like a
attitude.
just actually like a level of what you're prepared to accept as a player, and it's no a one off. And this is why I bring it up, is because we have seen, even in the games that we've won, so we've kind of praised the team at times for being able to dig out a result, like Dundee when we went down to 10 men, Livingston when we were 1-0 and sort of having to manage that game. But there are other games like St Johnstone where we've not had a shot on target. Like the Motherwell games, like you go back even to the start of the season under Johnson, where we just it's like games pass the team by. There's too many in the team that, like Yuan, apparently yesterday wasn't involved at all. Like I think we saw him in the highlights once. He was getting hammered online. New
I remember
Jago
getting booked.
in the midfield, like they should be dominating. Like a game like that, they should be like, right, we're the full time professional top tier team here. We should be dictating how this game's going, and it shouldn't have just been a case of, oh fuck, we can't cope with high balls into the box. Like the whether that is leadership, right? If you want to do a big goal, shout for it, John. I'm more than happy to, but. Right, so I suppose the point I'm making is that the manager gets criticised for his 4-4-2, right? And there's an argument about, because again, at least one person will be listening to go, but did they play fucking 4-4-2, right? There's an argument about the manager's insistence on sticking with that and whether that's going to get us results. But I go back to Johnson, who didn't play 4-4-2 and got the same performances in the season. I don't think it's the system that's the issue. I think we've got a proper problem in the team as it is now with how we deal with adversity and how we sort of take control of the game. So, what do you think is more at play? Do you think it is a case of the manager not getting it right, or is the issue with the players?
Well, it's numerous managers that haven't had it right. So then you've got to start questioning, well, it's the same players as it was at the start of the season. It's a different manager. We're getting similar performances. I think, I said to somebody yesterday in one of the chats that they were saying about the formation, and I was like, but we've got Premier League quality midfielders in there. They two, whatever two it is, at the end of the combinations, whether they're Levitt and Newell or Jago or drop Milotnikov back in there, even though he's a laddie, I would expect two of them to be able to dominate a midfield of whatever fucking formation Forfar played. I don't know what they played.
Yeah. 2
against 3, whatever it was, they should still be better and fitter and stronger and have a experience and all that would see them through. But apparently they didn't, and they just accepted it. I don't know. I wasn't there. Like so, but I'm just based on what I'm reading and hearing, it was just like they got, and then that then falls back into the or John, is that because folk are seeing what they want to see and they're going, that's the formation that's causing that problem? Because that is where everybody keeps falling back. They were all focused on this 4-4-2. This 4-4-2 doesn't work. Whereas should the players not make it work? Are they not good enough to make it work?
I think
because it is a basic. If it is like, and I know people say it's not 4-4-2, but that's how we appear to line up, and then they might move in between it and all that. But the 4-4-2, everybody knows what fucking 4-4-2 is. Like that's the
you grew up with it, yeah.
And they're a wee bit younger than us, but everybody 4-4-2 is what everybody used to play. So it's like everybody knows what, and it's the most basic fucking thing. There's 4-4-2. It's fucking, that's it. You run up and down there, he'll cover you behind you, and you've got, and that's it. It's fucking simple. You didn't. So I didn't understand how they can't understand it and how they're not making it work. And back to my point, maybe because they're 2 against 3 in a lot of games, somebody's not helping them out, whatever. But you're playing against like one of the worst teams one of the worst semi-pro teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're kicking the arse off getting replaced, they're getting kicked out of the leagues. Like that's where they are. We've got 2 players in there that are, well, one's an international and one would get any most teams in the Scottish Premier League that started yesterday. And they can't dominate. I don't know. Was that a question? Was that an answer?
There was a question. There was an answer, then there was a wee bit of question, and you kept going.
A rant. It was maybe a rant. I think.
It was about whether or not you saw that at the game, John. Like, so is that perception that we were happy just let that game slip away like that? No, slip because we won it. Right? This is the other thing to remember. Like for all, because you can flip it. For all you talk about a lack of character and everything, Hibs won that game without playing well yesterday, and that's normally a sign of a team with a bit of character in it. So. Do you know there's a couple of different ways that you can frame it. I get frustrated that we didn't win comfortably and the players are happy. I accept that sort of performance. But if you wanted to be totally positive about it, you'd say, well, we were shite, but we won, and they made sure they won and dug it out. So, well done.
Aye, I'd say that the way that the game panned out was that like Forfar, as much as they had like a few chances or whatever, like I don't think there was a lot of great football there. It was a lot of high balls and it was a lot of like putting Hibs under pressure. And I think that was something that we struggled against when we played Livingston. Like the ball wasn't on the ground a hell of a lot, and when we did have it on the ground, there was only a few opportunities. I'd done you Anna a disservice by saying that the only thing I remembered was him getting booked. There was actually a move down the Hibs right hand side where he played a 1-2 with Whittaker, where Whittaker got the ball in, and it didn't lead to a chance. I think the ball was just over Doidge's head. So there was some moments there where Hibs did play some good football, but I do take your point about like the whole like rolling up the sleeves and getting stuck in and all that sort of stuff. But I wonder how many players actually exist like that throughout Scottish football or even throughout world football. Like Colin's mentioned it before with regards to like the whole sort of the mythology of Roy Keane. Like that's kind of like the yardstick player that everyone talks about when they talk about like leaders and players getting stuck in and taking the game by the scruff of the neck and all sorts. One of the things I saw yesterday, and it might have just been like one particular passage of play, but it goes back to a comment that I remember from the Down the Slope guys when they did, I think it was their transfer special, where Liam talked about a player that could explore I took the piss out of him a wee bit for it because he was talking about players that were able to play like horizontally as well as vertically, and it reminded me of Jeff Goldblum's scene with Matt LeBlanc for Friends. I know this is a bit bizarre to describe it, but yesterday, looking out at the pitch, there was a very clear point where it was like all your left-sided players went one way and all your right-sided players went the other way, and it was fuck all right throughout the middle of the pitch. It was like the part of the Red Sea, and that's one of the things. So whether it's a player that takes the game by the scruff of the neck, or it's a player like the box-to-box midfielder, someone that's prepared to run on and actually run at players. Like we didn't really seem to have, like apart from our wide players, you didn't have anyone in the middle that's prepared to run at someone and try and take them on. That's a big miss. That would make a big difference to the Hibs side.
Mm. I think we've got the talent in the team, and that's why I get frustrated with it. Is like you've got players there that could and should be doing better than they are, and they didn't have to be Roy Keane. Like you didn't have to be like an elite level player to just say I'm going to be better than my opposite number of the day, and just making sure like is that the cliche about winning your individual battles and everything. I think too often we've just got players that then they win their individual battles and then they go into their shell and the team suffers as a result. Right, we'll go to talking points. I'm just kind of conscious of time. Right, first one we've got is from Jamie, who says, get Nick Montgomery out. That's the talking point. Every pre-match interview, the same turgid pish, then the team follows suit. At least LJs were entertaining pre and post-match.
Get Johnson back then. He's at work again.
Can you imagine? So we spoke off record through the week about Montgomery's interviews. In fact, we talked about it on the Hibs Observer episode on last week. He doesn't give a lot away. He just, he's very guarded with his interviews. Get him out.
I do wonder though, that at the point there, I know I kind of was flippant about it, but I wonder. So I've said before, I don't mind him being dull and boring in his interviews because the Johnson stuff got turned against him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but I do wonder the point that the guy, sorry, I can't remember his name, made was
Jamie
made about it translates to the players. I do wonder I wonder how different he is because I never watched the stuff that you guys watched when he was in Australia and that, doing the pre-match talks and stuff. But if his team meetings and pre-match talks are of that nature, maybe would it translate to the players? However, the players have been like this before with the other fucker. Anyway, so does it actually still making any difference to the players. They're still turning out the same way they did. Whether it's somebody talking about lions chasing lions, or somebody that's just repeating back the question they get asked. Like that, it's not making any difference. But it is an interesting point that he's made. Now, does it translate to the players? And what is his? How emotional in that does he get? I suppose when he's talking to the players.
John, on the point about getting them out, right? I always kind of conscious how we handle this discussion. My personal opinion is I don't want to see him get sad. I don't even think we should be having the discussion. Right? Is my view on it, right? But it's not me that dictates what we talk about. Right? The talking points are that somebody said get him out, so we should talk about it. But is it alarming that after a win that's the comment that we're seeing? Like there almost becomes like a point with sections of the Hibs support or any support really with any team where it's hard for a manager to come back from it. And it's generally things like this where you're winning a game and it's like there's whatever they do is not enough, to satisfy some. Should Montgomery or should the club be concerned that we're getting these noises now after a win, or do you think they'll just bat it off?
Respectfully, I think I'm becoming desensitized to it. Like we talk about it on the podcast because, like you say, like it's kind of dictated by the talking points or whatever. But respectfully, I do think that a lot of it comes down to frustration about Hibs' lack of success over recent years, and it feels like it's just noise. It's just like a social media soundbite, or like we talked about, like the sort of bingo card catchphrase, like Hibs disappointment. I want the club to be strong and to see through this. Like, then don't listen to the frustrations. Like you've employed someone new, stick with it. Like come hell or high water, stick with it. Even if Hibs get relegated, stick with it. Like have some conviction about the person that you employed and the plan that you had in place. Because otherwise, so Colin talked about it earlier about we're stuck in this loop. So break the loop, buck the trend, whatever it happens to be, stick with it.
And then Jeff Ashton says, couldn't see the game, so going off comments on social media and WhatsApp. Did we improve when Levitt came on, and how did Rudy do? Did we expect to do it the easy way? And no big team had an easy ride as far as I could see, so maybe stop being too negative, new players to come in, etc. So John, did we improve when Levitt came on?
We did. It's hard to put my finger on exactly what the improvement was, because I've said before that I think that Levitt and Newell are similar players, but I don't know if, again, instinctively, maybe Jago and Levitt had a bit of an understanding, or maybe the instruction for Levitt was to get forward a bit more. Like Jago just seemed to do what Jago did, and Levitt seemed to do a little bit more than Newell had done. I don't know whether he was a bit more capable of dealing with those high balls that I described earlier, and when the ball was on the ground, he was able to distribute it a bit more effectively to other Hibs players.
And how did Rudy do?
I thought he did fine. I thought, actually, I never mentioned it earlier, but Whittaker had a good game. I thought, actually, the easiest way to describe this is that all the young guys who were getting their sort of sixth start or their first start, they all did well.
Okay, then we've got 3 questions from Freddie. Freddie, first one is, why are we so lethargic and slow?
Don't know. Missed the cryotherapy to get them prepared for Forfar's weather yesterday.
They do look it though. That's the thing. It is. It does look like. I just don't know what. I don't know. Maybe they're doing long distance training instead of. Maybe they're doing 10Ks rather than fucking sprints and training. I don't know.
There's an interesting thread about it on Hibs.net about the fitness of the team. Right. So obviously the team are fit. Right. It's measured to the nth degree now. Right. So the coaching staff at Eastmains know exactly what level of fitness the team are, but we play at one pace. That's my observation. It looks like we've got some quick players, but the team collectively play at one pace. And I don't know if that's, and I think there might be some talking points actually on it, if it's to do with the type of players that we've got in the middle of the park. So neither Newell or Levitt are players that play like a one-touch pass. Do you know, they always take the ball in, have a look about, and then they move, and quite often that pass goes back. So the system itself almost sort of leads to us being slow, but also the players within it lead to us being slow. And I don't know whether it's just the case of you need to improve the players and everything will get better, or if that's on Montgomery to go and just rip up what he's doing and find something that's a bit less slow and lethargic. But that my observation of the team is like they play at one pace, and I think that makes us easy to defend against.
Yeah, that's depressingly fair.
Second one from Freddie. It's a statement, no a question. This one, Freddie, so we have a bit of feedback for you there. Says we need players now and the summer. So yes, we all agreed we need players now and in the summer.
Yep.
Right. And
So
the third one,
if you want to address that point that you made before about like one-dimensional stuff, then you need to replace players that, like, particularly in the middle of the park that we're talking about, like players that'll play that one-time pass. Like, you need to be able to find a player that'll exploit the best of the talents of the other players, and that might mean that some fan favourites or
it's no fan
player
favourites,
of
mate.
the years find their way out. But is that not part of football? Is that not what football managers should be doing? Like, and should they not be allowed the time to say, right, this is what I've got just now. I want to replace you with something else, and then the club should say, well, we need to go on. Club should be working with the agent to move that player on to bring someone else in. Yeah, but we didn't. We never ever seemed to give ourselves that opportunity to have that conversation, that relationship. It's just get him out.
I think so. Hibs are almost on that point, right? I think Hibs sometimes find ourselves in a position where we try to protect the assets. So even a player's in a good bit of form, we try to tie them into a decent contract because the powers that be are thinking didn't want them going for nothing, so they stick them on like a 4-year contract, thinking that's good. That means we're going to get plenty of money when we sell them.
Yeah.
But if we didn't sell them and the form drops off, then we've got a player for 4. And we see a lot now that players are with us. It's very. Sorry.
I was going to say they'll have about 4 or 5 managers to play under in that period as well.
So there's an element of maybe the club needs to box a bit more clever with how it offers contracts and how it structures things, or how good it gets at moving the players on, because we do have like a history of players that just seem to be with us for years and years. I think if every club's the same, because you on the one hand you want that stability, but you want that stability when the team's good. You didn't want it to be stably shite. Do you know? And that seems to be a problem, right? Anyway, the third one for Freddie said, "Why did I answer my missus' FaceTime for the pen when I was in bed naked? All I hear is Freddie, switch the camera." Only you can answer that, Freddie. Don't know why you did it.
That sounds like it was deliberate, to be honest.
So get yourself in.
I'm waiting. Did you tell me? Did you pull the duvet back sort of comically as if to say, "Come lie with me"?
Ventus Plenty said Nisbet subbed off at half time for Millwall despite being their only available striker. Millwall fans seem to hate how lazy he appears to be. When's the loan window closed makes you think. Also, we're beating Rangers on Wednesday night. Would you take Nisbet back? Is he what we need at the moment?
Well, we need goals. He gets goals. I don't know. I didn't realise all that about Millwall. I thought he was doing all right. I thought he was getting a game in that. But I guess if he's still starting, I'm not going to be getting rid of him, are they?
Well, if they're subbing him off at half time, there was Pablo followed that one up and probably answered the point. He just said "fuck Nisbet." So Karen Hannon said, "Where was our new signing? Not registered in time or not fit? Not registered in time is the answer to that one. So waiting on international clearance and a work permit.
Thursday night, it was always unlikely by the time you go through all the red tape.
Somebody said that St Johnson just got clearance for a boy they signed on the 9th of January, so the boy might not even be ready for Wednesday night. Part Fry's Image said, was Levitt the only Hibs player to have a shot from outside the box? Particularly in the first half, we were too timid around the box and didn't shoot or cross often enough. Lots of improvement needed, but we are in the draw. Shooting from inside the box, that's an issue as well. Did he do it?
We spoke about that before. Levitt isn't the only one that called doing it this season. He's done 2 or 3 decent ones. Other than that, there's hardly anybody shoots. It's always look for that pass out wide.
Yeah, does that come back to that player that wants to like the box to box midfielder, like the guy that'll run and take players on and have a dig. Like I think Colin's right, we didn't have that player. It's more that sideways pass and more of that part of the Red Sea that I described.
And that seems to be like a quick win. We just get them working on it in training. And you see, like if you're in this area, then be like you're not going to get criticised for taking a shot if you're 20, 25 yards out. That's one of the things that frustrates me with Hibs is we sometimes you're just waiting on somebody pulling the trigger and we just didn't do it.
I wonder how much of this comes down to like modern coaching and whatever. So I think, Matt, you've described some stuff that Josh had given you with regards to like crosses into the box or like short corners and working a shot. Like, is it from a percentage point of view, are you more likely to score from, say, like a cutback for the byline, for instance, compared to, say, a 25-yard screamer towards the top corner?
I think you are. Like, I think the benefit of trying to play it into good positions, you get a better quality of chance. Like, and I don't know if this comes like for folk trying to manage, kind of like what they call it, stat padding, padding, where that's a tricky thing to say by the way, stat padding, where you're trying to manipulate your XG to make it look like you're playing better. So like, if you get an XG ones, like I think where you're standing right in front of the goal about to knock it in, right? That's it, like, and then if you're out wide, it's lesser XG. Like the quality of chance isn't as good. And so if you're shooting for distance, they tend to have quite a low success rate, I would think. So there's maybe an element of like we want to create good quality chances. Therefore, to create a good quality chance, you need to pass it about and try to get it into a person in an ideal position. But
it used to be called playing the percentages, like you know, if you were getting a cutback rather than just having an aimless dig, or you know that kind of stuff. Like it was, or get the ball up the park quicker because then you've got. You can't score if you're in your own half, sort of thing. You know what I mean? It's that. It's just manipulating the stats or giving yourself a better chance, whatever one you want to call it.
I just need to sometimes just fucking take a shot. Like
shooting's
a better chance than no shooting. Do you know, like that's the way I would look at it.
And it's passing up like clear opportunity. I don't know if I've done that yesterday. So, but in games I've seen every other game this season, and we pass up clear opportunities to shoot, where you're almost going like the crowd that would. You go and shoot, like at the same fucking time, and then they go knock it out to the fucking left or the right, and you're going, "Fuck's sake!"
Aye. Alan Duncan said, "Great, we have made it through. However, Wednesday could be a tough watch if we play anything like that." Yep. Albert Street said, "Who should the penalty taker be when Boyle's not around? Not sure Newell is the answer. He's missed a few now."
Who should be the penalty taker when Boyle is around?
Boyle's missed a few as well. You would think maybe they must practice penalties. Like that would be one of the things you did when you were weekend and you were at your football training. You'd have a wee shot and just practicing shooting. That was the fun part of it. Just getting the penalties and get a few goals. So I don't know. There must be folk doing it, but we've not got a free kick taker, and we're like any threat for shooting for free kicks, and we've no threat for penalties by the look at it as well, which is fucking ridiculous. So.
But come on, what's mental about it, when he first came in and we were going, oh, what an attacking and forward line we've got. Like four across the front, you know, it's a 4-2-4, no 4-4-2, and all that shit we were all raving about. Like, who would you trust on penalties? It would have to be Venti. He wasn't on the pitch yesterday when we got it. So I guess that's why he never took it. Like, yeah, I assume he would have been the taker. But it's pretty, like, you would think. You think people would be putting their hand up for it, eh? Like the attacking players like Tavares, Yuan were there yesterday. Doidge obviously just doesn't fancy himself for the penalty spot. I don't know either. But you know what I mean? It's it's like how have we got all these attacking players in the team that none of them can take a penalty? What about Levitt? Levitt, no fancy sell as a dead ball player. Again, he wasn't on the pitch yesterday when we got one, but
you would think
actually back into saying let the centre halves take it, which I find like Presley made a career at it, but like you're back to the defenders. Like when we've got these attacking players in the team, they should all be going. I'm looking arguing over it.
Aye, I was just about to make that very point about the desire to score, like having a fight about who's taking the penalty because they want to have the goal against their name and get their numbers up for the season. But
I've got Yuan as top scorer in your prediction, so. Get him on the penalties. We'll do a wee run of them.
Stephen Lumsden said, "File in the absolutely shite, but we're through pile. I think the pissing about side to side is really starting to get to me. I think it's getting to a few folk now." Debbie said, "Expecting a standard rant from Colin about the BBC coverage of it."
So Debbie, I did not listen to the radio because I can't be fucking arsed with it. I couldn't listen to that off. What's it called? Open all mics.
Open all mics.
So I didn't even bother. I spent my time trying to find it on the telly on my stick and on the stick that I borrowed. I don't know what's the legal term. And
that you've not got one.
I've not got one.
A big boy brought round and then ran away.
Aye, that one. And then I watched Sports Scene, and as I say that was just a couple of like there was fuck all there. It was like the game stopped after the goal. So I've not got any. So you're in a better place. You've already had your moan about them groaning when we.
Aye. Tony Swanson said, "We got the win. Hopefully, Monty put the lottery on. That was a dreadful performance as a team. I'm not going to highlight any individuals." I think that's appropriate, John. I think it was a collectively poor performance.
Nah, I think if I agreed with that, Colin would pick me up for contradicting myself because I'd said that the young guys had done fine, and there was, like you said, like with Tavares, he was positive. He definitely tried to make an impact. It was just, but they were in the minority. The other players, like defensively, I thought we were okay. I thought Hanlon did well. I don't remember Fish really being involved too much. Stevenson, I know he's going to get a bit of stick, but you could say that he was involved in the penalty. And when there was an odd, I thought it was an odd substitution because they took Whittaker off, they brought a beater on, and Stevenson went to right back. But I thought Stevenson did fine at right back. And despite Dave saying that Stevenson doesn't have a right foot, he did whip in a really good ball with his right foot. There was just, I think there was probably, it was, I want to say it was around about like 70. In fact, it might have been before a goal. But anyway, I was there. I saw it. There was other players, and I think probably the middle of the park where like you say, it wasn't up to much. Like they didn't, like you say, dominate the game.
I guess it brought Whittaker off. I mean, based on those limited Sports Scene highlights, Whittaker got absolutely burned for pace, and I thought he must be knackered. And that's why they've taken him off, because the one when Marshall looked like he saved it, but they didn't give the corner. I think Fish gave the ball away in their half, like a real bad pass, and then they just broke away, and Whittaker just couldn't catch the boy. And I'm thinking he must be like, his legs must be done. And I assume that's why he came off, and they've just went with a left back at right back.
Patrick McManus said, "Did a week in the sun prepare for a cold Scottish climate?" I think we have been back, since. It's an interesting one. I kind of made the point about no linking the training thing to the performance yesterday, so going away to Dubai. And I think it's impossible to say whether that had an impact or no, because you didn't care how we would have played if we never went. So it's like, well.
And it's coming back after 3 weeks in 8 games as well.
Aye.
I don't know. I was standing on a cold touchline with Paddy yesterday though. Yesterday morning. That's where we spent the morning. But it's I don't know. Like other teams do it. Like all the big teams do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be some value in it, rather than just spending cash that they didn't need to spend. It must be.
Just to clarify something that I said before about like the odd substitution, I think that was partly enforced. So Colin's saying that Whittaker was burned for pace, needed to be replaced, but the fact that we're missing Cadden, Miller's away on international duty, and Megalo was cup tied, it was one of those enforced decisions as well. So
that's what I'm saying. It's feast at famine in the next few weeks at that position.
Yeah.
The other way around. Sorry.
Gaza said, "Do you think Hibs should play more of a 4-4-2 rather than rely on wingers Boyle and Yuan to have the pace for through the middle, plus to help support the strikers?" Gaz, I'm not sure what the question is. So do you think Hibs should play more of a 4-4-2 rather than rely on wingers? Boyle and Yuan have the pace for through the middle, plus it would help to support the strikers. So instead of playing them as
midfielders out wide rather than sort of attacking,
rather than
like Chris Cadden playing in right midfield.
I get it. So I suppose we'll see when Carden's back. I think if we've got like a traditional right and left midfielder, don't know. We have
It's
wingers,
like
but
Mueller on the left.
yeah,
That's where he came in as.
but he wasn't very good when he came in there. So he got better when he
But
went in
then
the middle.
he did, but
I
was
think
that
it's
because he was being asked to do something different to what? Like, is he being at? Mind you, when he was down south, mind you, when me spoke to him, he spoke about in the what Championship or League One that he played down there. It was more about like swinging crosses in and
I think the
stuff.
first that he used it was under when he was did he play under Warnock? Can it be like his instruction was basically touch and deliver? And I think the criticism of Newell at the time when he came in and he was playing on the left was that he's never a winger.
Yeah.
So if we play with him as a left midfielder, just swing some crosses in, and then you could.
Yeah.
Because I bet he's got a decent delivery when he's putting crosses in. Right, Kaiser Soze said another honking performance, this time against lower league opposition. Very lucky to still be in the cup, let's be honest. And GGTTH said the midfielders are brutal, they don't help the defence, they're scared to make a tackle and let the people just bully them. Even if Joe Newell isn't the captain on the day, he still needs to act like one on the pitch. I do think midfield's an issue for us. It's funny because I like Levitt and Newell together as a pairing, but they've no shown it over the last few games. And obviously with Jaguar, it came in for this one, but there's just something no clicking for. We're either too deep or they just didn't impact the game enough. Chris said the issue about penalty taker needs resolved urgently. The older fringe players aren't good enough to step up and play in the system. The manager needs time to build his own squad. These players are the signings from Heckingbottom, Ross, Maloney and Johnson. The bit about time then signing your own players, what do you think of that, Colin?
I think that's a good point what he's made there, because it's John kind of sort of touched on that earlier. It is now a jumble of all the managers we've had in the last couple of seasons, because that's all it's been. And the new guy, oh my God, he's not the new guy anymore, but he needs to. He's probably had time now. He's definitely had time now to go. No thanks, and get his own ones in, and then actually build something rather than let him get folk in, bin him, and then the next guy comes in. He's got a jumble of about 5 players that he doesn't want. So I think I think it's a good point.
Christopher Black said, when will folks see that Joe Newell hinders us? He is incapable of driving the team forward, something that Levitt easily did when he came on. John?
Sorry, I got distracted momentarily there by a message for the missus. Can you repeat the question?
When will folks see that? When will folks see that Joe Newell hinders us? He's incapable of driving the team forward, something that Levitt easily did when he came on.
I would say so. Levitt was an instant improvement on Newell yesterday, but you would need to be able to see Levitt playing that role in far more games. So I'll take your point that where you say that Newell's hindering the side. However, Newell was also Hibs Player of the Year last year. So
October, your best player. Everybody was like, sign him up.
Yeah,
I think he's more than capable of driving. You watch the Luzerne game, which go back, that is probably his best performance of the season. He drove us on forward loads. Look at Venti's goal and that, and Newell's involvement in it. It's terrific, and that's a player driving a team forward. So he is capable, but I don't think he needs to do it more. Like that's the issue. Goes back to the earlier point. Gaza, did the weather affect the game in any way, or Hibs were just really poor? John, how big a factor was the weather?
I don't think the weather played a factor at all. Like, there was a wee bit of breeze. It rained a little bit, but it wasn't like, say, the conditions Livy Hibs that I referenced as a sort of comparison in terms of the team's style of play. It was a plastic pitch. I did wonder whether it was quite narrow that maybe nullified Hibs, wide players and their pace. But as I say, like Nguyen combined with Whittaker, Tavares had got a few balls in, so I'm defeating my own theory there.
Fair enough.
No, I don't think the weather played a part in the game.
Okay, right. So just the last few to get through, kind of conscious of time. So quick fire on these ones. The Metro Hibs said almost all the Premier League teams struggled today. We're through, and that's the main thing. We badly needs defenders in, though. Agreed. Elgin Highby, apart from a win, there weren't too many players who deserved their wages today. That was dire. We desperately need some new player announcements and some sent out to pasture. I think it's a kind of common theme, isn't it? That we need then reinforcements in. Lippy Hibby said, came away feeling sorry for Forfar, who could have been 2 or 3 up at half time. Baffling to me that we didn't play Vents from the start as a proper 9. The guy is wasted the way Montgomery plays him, and this was an ideal opportunity. And we've talked about Venti and how ineffective he's been recently. Fabrav said, get 2 CBs in ASAP, get goal scoring midfielder and drop Newell. And Darren said, far better second half when Newell went off. Boy gets away with murder. Get him and several others binned ASAP. So,
I'm a bit surprised about the Newell chat. Like, I really am. There's quite a lot of folks saying it, and I'm not saying he's been good like recently, or he's been, but I just thought he had more credit in the bank than that, and I would have thought if we were replacing a midfielder, he would be the first one that would be out.
Aye, there's definitely players that I would be targeting ahead of Newell, but
I was going to ask earlier when we were talking about this, but if Hanlon and Stevenson are the old guard, what's the next in line after the old guard? Because it's almost like the guys that have been here for a period of time are now the ones that are starting to get that attention.
I'll be Boyle and Newell and
Deutsch, isn't it?
Aye, Deutsch. Like that's sort of the next tier, isn't it? And I think it's that thing like when folk have been there a while, you kind of look for who are the constants in it. Like if we're still improving, and there's probably an element of fairness in that as well. Like if you're seeing the same issues over and over and over again, then at some point you need to say, well, you need to make a change in that position. So
you could factor that
I can get it.
Yeah, you could factor that into what I was suggesting as well about like the sort of middling performances and league finishes and what have you. Well, if Newell was part of that and Hanlon and Stevenson were part of that and Boyle was part of that, then I want to see the back of you and I want to see something different to see an improvement.
Mm-hmm. Right, without time, quick score prediction for Wednesday night when we play Rangers. Colin?
2-1 Hibs.
John?
I was going to say 2-1 Hibs. I'll go 2-0 Hibs.
3-2.
Clean sheet. But I've got to leave that open for Matty. He's the boss.
I'll go for I will be like a 3-1 defeat.
Oh, we're doing real predictions. Oh, I thought we were just like trying to be positive.
Just be positive. Nah, I can't see being a good one. Although normally when I predict this to be shite, we get a wee result. So I'm going for the reverse jinx with it. We've not decided on an extra time topic yet, but definitely it'll be one that you want to listen to. So if you didn't subscribe already, go and subscribe. You can also now if you want to just watch on YouTube, which quite a lot of folk do, you can get our subscriber content on there. There's a wee button for becoming a member. You can become a member and you'll get the exclusive subscriber content there that's not available to anybody other than subscribers. So go and do that. And if you don't want to pay for anything, you could just do us a favour by subscribing to our YouTube channel anyway, pressing the wee red button. We only need a handful more to do that, and we hit our first milestone on it. So thanks for listening, John, Colin. Thanks very much for your time this morning, and we'll see you next time.
They trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink what I know.